What if I told you that a large part of your exhaustion doesn't come from what you do, but from who you are pretending to be? Think about it for a second. How much energy do you spend every day trying to appear calm, confident, successful, when inside you just want to stop? You wake up, you comply, you respond, you move forward. And yet you still feel like something is chasing you, as if you were always arriving late to your own life. They told you that worrying meant being responsible, that controlling meant being mature, that fitting in meant surviving. And without realizing it, you turned those ideas into an elegant prison, comfortable on the outside, suffocating on the inside. No one sees the bars, but you feel them every night when the noise fades and that uncomfortable question appears, the one you avoid at all costs. Is this all? Because you are not exhausted from a lack of strength. You are exhausted from an excess of masks, from holding up a story you did not write, from living focused on other people's looks, on silent expectations, on a script that rewrites itself just to keep you busy and far from what truly matters. This is not a video to motivate you. It is not here to push you to do more. It is here to unsettle you enough so that you start to let go. Let go of control. Let go of the need for approval. Let go of the version of you that learned how to survive, but forgot how to feel alive. Stay. Because if you have ever felt trapped in a life that works but does not feel like yours, what comes next may change the way you look at yourself and the story you are about to keep telling. Because the most unsettling thing is not that you are tired. It is that you have gotten used to being tired. You have normalized that constant pressure in your chest, that feeling of always being one step behind, even when everything seems fine on the surface. You learn to call it stress, responsibility, adult life. But that is not it. It is the weight of living disconnected from yourself. You were trained to look outward, to measure your worth through results, opinions, comparisons, to adjust who you are depending on the context, depending on who is watching you. And little by little, you stopped asking yourself what you wanted. Not because it did not matter, but because it seemed dangerous. Because wanting something different meant disappointing others. And disappointing others was frightening. So you started to control, to plan everything, to anticipate every possible mistake, to polish your image, your decisions, your words. Control became your refuge. It made you feel safe. It made you feel prepared. But no one warned you that absolute control is a fantasy that charges extremely high interest. Anxiety, rigidity, fear of change. An entire life lived in defense mode. The more you try to control, the less space you leave for living. Every step is calculated, every emotion filtered, every desire questioned. And without realizing it, you become a spectator of your own existence, always waiting for the right moment, the perfect moment, the moment that never comes. Here lies the great misunderstanding, believing that detaching means losing everything, that letting go is giving up, that stopping worrying means becoming indifferent. Nothing could be further from the truth. Detachment is not abandoning what you love. It is stopping yourself from clinging to it out of fear. It is relating to life from freedom, not from lack. Because when you need something to feel complete, you are already trapped. People, roles, titles, identities. Everything becomes a cage if you use it to cover an inner emptiness. And the problem is not the cage. The problem is that you start to confuse it with your home. Letting go causes vertigo because it confronts you with a brutal question. Who are you without all of that? Without the character, without the story you keep repeating, without the excuses, without the approval, and yes, for a moment it may feel like nothing is left, but that moment is sacred. It is the silence before hearing yourself truly for the first time. That is where something different begins. Not a perfect version of you, but an honest one. Incomplete. Under construction. An identity defined not by what it shows, but by what it chooses. And that changes everything. You begin to realize that a large part of your suffering does not come from life itself, but from resisting it as it is. From wanting everything to fit, to make sense, to be safe. But life does not work that way. It never did. Accepting that is not weakness. It is wisdom. And then another dangerous idea appears. Uncertainty is not a system error. It is an essential feature. Not knowing exactly what you are building leaves room to discover it. Not having everything clear forces you to listen to yourself, to try, to fail, to adjust, to grow. The story you tell yourself matters more than you think, because it does not only describe who you are, it creates it. If you tell yourself you are lost, you will act like someone who is lost. If you tell yourself you cannot, you will limit your steps before you even try. But if you start seeing yourself as someone in process, as an author who is still writing, the margin expands. This is not about inventing a beautiful story. It is about telling an honest one that includes doubt, contradictions, fear. Because that is human too. The best narratives are not the ones that fit perfectly, but the ones that transform. Maybe right now you do not know which chapter you are living, and that is okay. Not every stage comes with clarity. Some come only with discomfort, with the feeling that something has to change even if you do not know exactly what. That feeling is not a problem. It is a signal. The real tragedy is not making mistakes. It is not daring to choose. It is staying in a correct but empty life. It is reaching the end and realizing you were extremely efficient at living a story that was never yours. You do not need more control. You need more honesty. You do not need to please more people. You need to listen to yourself more. You do not need all the answers. You need the courage to ask yourself the right questions. And now the decision comes back to you. It always comes back to you. You can keep adjusting the mask, perfecting the routine, convincing yourself that tomorrow will be different. Or you can start letting go today, little by little, without epic moments, without applause, but with truth. Because the freedom you are looking for is not at the end of the road. It begins at the exact moment you stop running from who you are and finally dare to live from that place. You wonder why, despite achieving goals, you still feel a strange emptiness that is hard to explain. The answer is uncomfortable, but simple. Because many of those achievements did not come from you. They are inherited goals. Ladders built by others that you climbed without, ever questioning whether you wanted to see the view from the top. And now that you are there, the silence is deafening. If any of this resonated with you, I want you to make a small, conscious gesture. Write this sentence in the comments without overthinking it, as a quiet but firm declaration. Today, I begin to let go of the story that isn't mine. It is not for me. It is for you. To remind yourself that this moment existed, that there was an instant when you stopped running and started looking at yourself honestly. Because sometimes, a single sentence can be the first act of freedom. And now, yes, close this video. Do not save it as entertainment. Take the question with you, because the next chapter does not start here. It starts when you finally decide to live from who you truly are. And if this content resonated with you, subscribe to be part of it, and leave a like if you enjoyed it.